everyone, welcome back to the homestead today. So our last video we told you how cold it has been for us around here, and I know a lot of you have experienced some extremely cold temperatures as well. Come here, sweetheart. At that point we didn't know if anything was still alive under our mini tunnels in the garden or not. They were buried in snow, and so I wanted to share today a happy little secret with you. And then there's lots of other wonderful things happening in our happy space out here in the kitchen garden. So let me walk you through and show you what has survived the crazy cold of winter. Alright, so right off the patio here we have some rooted Hamburg, I think that's how you say it, parsley that I planted last year, and it overwintered and I thought it was dead and gone, but it has growth, new growth on it. Right here. We've got about 5 or 6 of those that are still alive. And over in our perennial flower bed we have crocuses that were almost fully up before the crazy cold came, and so I thought they were gone, but they're not. They're beautiful and they're in bloom. They're not really open right now because of the clouds, but oh, and we have some rain coming. We weren't supposed to get rain, but here it comes. Also have some autumn joy sedum that had come back as well, and it was ready for spring before the cold, and I thought it would die, but it didn't. It's right here. Moving on to this area over here, we have rhubarb that it got a little bit of damage. There's a little bit of brown on the edges of the leaves, but it is doing great, and there's 3 or 4 more of those coming up and doing really well. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 garlic and strawberry beds. That the garlic was really tall before the cold, and normally garlic does sprout a little bit through the winter and you get some leaf growth, but most of the effort's into the root system during the winter time. If they get too tall, they potentially can die with the really cold temperatures. But they're doing great, even though they were pretty tall before the cold. This is what Chidlers in the garden looks like, guys. Little obstacle course here going on.
And I'm walking on it too.
Alright, and then over here I've got some more perennial herbs and flowers, and 2 in particular I was afraid we were going to lose, but they're doing great. This is Snow in Summer. It was just as bushy as it is right now before the cold, and it still looks pretty much the same. And then also this is Arctic Fire Dianthus, and it's just overwintered great. Oh, it's really starting to rain now. Gonna have to hurry. So under all of our fruit trees we planted daffodils that we found from the wild our first year here, and since then I've just continued to divide them out and add more daffodils and tulips and all kinds of little bulbs. And these ones here, I thought they were going to die because you can see there's already the little bloom starts coming up, and they look great. They were fine. There's bulbs and perennial flowers and herbs that were all growing and taking off as if it was spring before the cold front, and they're all still doing amazing. I can't believe these plants can come back to life as if it's spring and then be hit so hard. 2 weeks straight we had of below freezing temperatures, and we got down into the negatives as well, and they look like nothing even hit them. It's amazing. Okay, so here's the biggest surprise of all. I left some Fortic Giant chard plants, about 8 of them, just totally uncovered. I wanted to see if they could make it through the whole winter or not, and then after we got hit so hard I was like, oh man, they're just gone for sure. Well, check it out. Look over here. Most of them are not looking good, but there is fresh new growth on this one here, so that is pretty amazing.
So they could all come back.
They could all come back, yes, because their roots are still good. Over here we have chamomile that self-seeds really crazy in the garden, and it, as you can tell, it suffered a little bit of damage, the bigger ones here, but there are still tiny little seedlings all over the place in here. Okay, so now we'll go to the front part of the garden where we had things under cover and show you what happened to those plants. Alright, so we had 3 mini tunnels that each only had 1 layer of row cover. It's a pretty thick row cover, but just 1 layer, single layer. So here is our kale bed, and we probably lost a couple down here from last summer. These have been in the ground since last spring. They pretty much should have already been pulled out, but I just left them for fun to see what would happen. I might try and see if I can get seed from any of them. But all the rest were planted in the fall, and I don't think we lost one. They're all alive still. The Russian kale did a little bit better than the blue curled Scotch. You can see a little bit of full damage there on the blue curled Scotch, but they did fantastic. And we already have been eating off of them again. And the next bed over we have chard. I used the 5-color silver beet chard. Get that from Baker Creek Seed Company. And we did end up losing a few of them that were in from last spring, so they got almost a year. I went ahead and pulled those out. They did have some new little shoots coming, but I went ahead and pulled them out because they were old. But the new ones, of all the new ones, I think we only lost like 2 or 3, the new ones that we planted in the fall. So that's pretty cool too. Chard is super cold hardy. And in our last bed that was covered, we had pretty much already pulled everything out. We had rutabagas that we pulled, carrots that we ate as well in the fall. There's still a couple little carrots hanging on. And then we had radishes that we had already eaten. But lettuce was the main thing I wanted to see if I could get to overwinter in this bed. And we had some Landis winter, it's a butterhead lettuce that did fantastic right here. I only had 3 plants and all 3 of them have survived. There's a tiny bit of cold damage, but they're just coming back with new growth in the middle. So very cool. Alright, just made it before it really started raining pretty good out there. Thought I would show you real quick here what's going on in the greenhouse. I probably started seeds a little too early, maybe not. In any case, I started seeds in January and we ended up having to pull them inside and keep them inside our house for a couple weeks through the really cold spurt, and then I was able to move them back out here. We've got mostly perennial flowers that needed to have a little bit of cold stratification in order to germinate. So they were out in the greenhouse experiencing some pretty cold temperatures before I brought them inside. I didn't want to leave them out here as little sprouts through the real cold because it did freeze in our greenhouse when it got really cold. So this is the majority of our perennial flowers. I like to start as many of them from seed as I can because they can be expensive to buy as plants. Got coreopsis, lamb's ear, 2 different kinds of penstemon, white gay feather, a couple salvias, some feverfew, a pastel mix of yarrow, verbascum, antique rose, primrose, and a few others in various other places around the greenhouse here. I just recently started more of our food items, and so those have not sprouted yet, but I've got lots of different kale and cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, that sort of thing. We've got some little onion starts over here. So I wasn't sure if I would be able to get sets this year from Baker Creek or not. We normally get most of our onion sets and potato sets from Baker Creek from their seed store, and I'm not sure if they're going to have those to offer this year or not because of everything that's happened with COVID. I think they also ended up having a storm that came through and destroyed some things, so we'll still go and see if we can get some more there. I wanted to plant some from seed just to get more experience with growing onions from seed, and then I did order a little bit online as well. So hopefully we'll have enough onions this year. I'm trying to see if I can grow enough onions this growing season in order to have enough for the whole year. Esther's got some little starts going here. This is a fun new thing we tried. Reusing egg cartons. So this works as a little protective dome to keep everything moist, and then it sets down inside of the top layer there so that it can wick up water from the bottom as well. Sounds like the rain stopped already. It's actually really warm out here. and it's just so beautiful. I love spring. It's not officially spring yet, but we've already been enjoying some beautiful hours of work out in the kitchen garden. We're getting excited about beginning to really go forward with our main crop garden and getting that set in place. I don't know if it'll be ready to plant this spring, but hopefully by fall we'll be able to use that space. Super excited about the gardens this year and looking forward to sharing more of what's going on in those beautiful spaces with y'all in the coming months. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Real quick note about comments and emails, Facebook, all of that. Kip handles the majority of responding to you all who are on Facebook and the comments down below, as well as our emails that come through. He's taken on that as his job and a YouTube endeavor that we're doing. However, I do get on to answer specific questions that he's not able to answer, and sometimes I'll just get on to read through and get to know y'all a little bit better. But most of the time he's doing that, so I'm going to try from now on to sign my name whenever I do a response to anyone, just so you guys know who it is that's responding to you. So if there's no name attached, it's probably Kip. If I get on the answer, I'll sign my name so that there's no confusion for y'all. The two exceptions to that are Patreon and Instagram. Kip pretty much doesn't touch either of those. I'm the one that does the Patreon and Instagram. Alright, real quick before I go in to finish up dishes for the day, if you guys are interested in the whole story of what happened with our computer breaking down and just the incredible blessings that came from all of that, check out our children's channel, Thousands of Roots, and they are going to have kind of the whole story for you on their channel. So until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours, and whatever you do, do it with your whole heart. How you doing, Joshy?
Good.
Taking care of this little one. Hey, you loving the garden? It's wet. Yes. Do you hear the birds? She loves the garden. You could just spend all day out here. Thankfully, her little feet are soft enough that she doesn't really do much damage. Because she doesn't know the difference between pathways and growing spaces yet. She's getting there.